Good afternoon. Hope we're all well. And I think our brother James has definitely removed any loss of energy we may have had from lunch. So thank you very much for making sure we're all energized and attentive to what you said, and hopefully to what I'll say as well. Um, we thank, I thank the leadership so much for what has been a very blessed event already, very edifying, and also the chance to come up here and speak on behalf of the youth, to bring a youth kind of perspective to what we've talked about today. And I would not need all the time I've been given, I believe, because we've had three very talented speakers already bless us with some very wonderful presentations on a lot of the theory of what I want us to use practically at this time. So it's quite good that I've had the chance to go last because we have so much that's been said, and now we want to think more about how to apply it practically. And we'll be doing that today with a little walkthrough, if you will, of planning an event that has been mentioned a few times today, a Songs Fest. A Songs Fest, which is something that we have a little bit of experience of. And even the things that I've been able to think up for today's session has been a product of collaboration, of me reaching out to other youth leaders who also have experience in their various congregations of hosting and planning various events. So even this is in itself is an example of the great things that can come from collaboration. All right. So in this example, this walkthrough, and I'll try to keep things brief so that we're able to finish on time, we're trying to plan a Songs Fest. And we've already mentioned quite a lot of steps when it comes to preparation and planning. So I first want to ask us all an open question to the floor. What is the first thing we do for this Songs Fest? What is the first thing we do in our stage of preparation? Any suggestions? Set a date. That's one. Anything else? The song leaders, so the officiators for the program. Okay. Anything else? Pray. Yes, pray. Important step. Any other thoughts we can think of? First step. Venue. So we need a place, yeah? The target, the aim. Brother Douglas. Yes. I wonder where he's got that from. Yes, again. Okay. So we have thought of a lot of practical things of what we want to do first and the steps for this Songs Fest. But actually, what we need to do first is ask ourselves one question. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? The idea may be very nice in our heads. We want to hold a Songs Fest. We want to hold this. We want to do this. Why? Why are we doing this? And this is a question that a brother in Milton Keynes often asked to me a lot when I came to him. It was suggested. I think he's here today as well. And it's a very good way of thinking whenever you want to plan something. Why? What is the essence for this? What is the need? Is there a need for this? And so we have to ask ourselves a few questions and consider some things at least before we proceed. So as long as why is we doing this, what need does it fulfill? Is there a need that it fulfills? Is there already something similar happening elsewhere? And if so, could we support or collaborate with an existing program instead? And I think for what we've talked about today, we can kind of see where this is going and know the answers to these in our heads. So I want us to use a model that we'll use throughout this little walkthrough of good, better, and best. And this is just for us to see the kind of different approaches we can take when it comes to planning and preparation. And by all means, there may be a better approach that is better than the one that's put down as best. So if that's the case, then please hold them, and we'd be able to take those after. And you can enlighten us on those, or perhaps in the questions section, you can ask about those as well. So in the sense of why are we doing this, it's good for us to want to run an event. The first thing is we want to hold a Songs Fest. That's good. Better is we want to hold a Songs Fest because it addresses a genuine need. Perhaps we feel there's been a lack of energy and we feel our kind of levels are low within the congregation. We want something that can reignite the spark within us and kind of relight the fire in our souls. And best is we discover another congregation already runs a similar event nearby, and we then try to explore partnering together. So this is really where collaboration can begin before a date is even chosen, before speakers are even thought of, before any of these steps that practically we need come up. Sometimes the best program is not always a new program. Which leads us to the next step. And before this step, I want us to read this verse. Without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. Amen. And I think our brother has touched on already on how vast the church is. And we would say the church is not just our congregation. The church is Stratford, it's Milton Keynes, it's Liverpool, it's Cumbernauld, it's North Colony, Texas in USA. It's so many different places, so many different brethren. And we are so blessed with the amount of knowledge that these members have, the amount of experience that they have, that we're able to call upon for counsel. And so we have to make the most of the family that God has given us. So the second step is to seek approval and advice. In this Songs Fest, we need to speak to our elders, speak to our deacons, and also, as well as approval, seek advice for them. Seek advice from those who have experience in past events, from those who have done these things before and know what mistakes to avoid, so that we can also proceed smoothly. And there's a lot that we can learn from these people who have had these issues before. I think the calendar that our brother showed us has very much made it clear of how common and frequent an issue this is, this whole clash of schedules. So from the past, the history that people have, we can learn from these kind of issues that they've had before, and also gives us this further opportunity for collaboration, even within our congregations, before we get to externally. So again, the good approach is for us to get permission and approval from the relevant key holders within our congregations. What's better is for us to seek advice from these brethren, especially those who have experience in this certain area. And what's best is to invoke the leadership early enough to shape the event itself. Now, here comes the real challenge. And again, touching on what Brother James has said, how many Saturdays do we have in a year? 52, exactly. Now, how many different events do we have? Youth events, lectureships, women's days, family days, singing programs, gospel meetings, men's days. And how many churches do we have across the UK? Not just London now, but across the whole UK. If we're saying 20 in London, then we can easily say perhaps 30, 40 within the UK. We do the maths, that's 40 times 7 here, which is around 280 programs. If we all want to do one of these each year. So we have 52 Sundays, which is a big number, but now we have 280 programs. And suddenly that big number doesn't seem so big anymore. So how do we go about making sure that we can isolate and target the times and try to collaborate as much as possible to prevent these clashes from happening? And we have to consider first the types of clashes that can happen, because not all of them can happen externally. There are also some times when we may accidentally double book ourselves. We may accidentally book a program or try to sort a date for what we already have something going on that day. So when we look at internal programs, they're mainly for the local congregation, perhaps a men's training day or a ladies' day that's focused specifically on something that the church or the leaders have identified as a need, a weakness, an area that we as a church want to talk about or train ourselves in, and perhaps tackle some issues that are sensitive or perhaps confidential even to that congregation. So having this kind of event on the same day as another program may limit the clash, but it doesn't still avoid it completely. And then, of course, external, which we've spoken heavily about, is the events that we open up to multiple congregations all over. Could be a lectureship, a national program, a long-standing event that's always held annually around a certain time of year. And these are where the clashes really happen. These are where the impacts and the issues can be massive and can be felt across all the congregations, not just our local one. So, in trying to avoid clashes, there are a number of resources that we have available to us, which some have been mentioned already. But in our case, when we're planning this Songs Fest, we want to check the Chord admin group. Now, the Chord is a group of the youth of Churches of Christ who have put it upon themselves to organize events and days where they can bring the youth together and have certain programs to really build the bonds of fellowship. And Stratford was generous enough to host the youth service that they had some time ago, which I was blessed enough to be at. And they within themselves have an admin group, similarly to the UK and EU leaders who have that group chat as well. And it's where they go to share all kinds of events they have coming up within their own individual congregations. Because within the admin group is a leader from most, or if not all, the churches that are around the area. Church calendars. Each of us, our own congregations, may have calendars that we have at the beginning of the year, and we implore us all to save them, mark the dates, get the days off, apply for annual leave as soon as possible. So within our churches, we need to also check those dates first before we make this Songs Fest. The Christian Worker, again, another resource which has been mentioned already, full of dates and announcements and awareness. Leadership group chats we've talked about already, and also the existing annual programs, an example being the European Lectureship, which was held in Germany this year. So we have so many resources that we're able to use to already see the dates and all kinds of programs that are held for the year and the ones coming up as well. So again, going back to this model, it would be good for us if there is no local clash, if there is no clash within our own programs for this Songs Fest that we're making. It would be better if there is no similar event taking place around the same period. And best is that there's no way in which we try to mix or perhaps compete with other events that are happening around the same time. So I wanted to look at an example now, a quick scenario of two different churches and the plans that they intend to make. Now, Congregation A plans a European Youth Lectureship. Congregation B plans another large youth program that they expect all youth to attend. And they both happen to target the Easter holiday this time. They both want to make sure that it's when perhaps university students are back home and they know that most people will be available to attend. Now, if Congregation A has already put this out, they've already made flyers, they've already announced it in various congregations, group chats, so on and so forth. They have to think about Group B, Congregation B has to think about these several questions. Are they both serving different needs? Is there a way that perhaps these both can function at the same time, or perhaps different times, but target different areas? Could the dates be adjusted? Is there a way in which they can find a way to not let this overshine or clash or compete with the upcoming event that already exists? Could the resources be shared? Could they try to collaborate, gather men who are experienced in the topics they want to communicate in? And could the events exist altogether? Is it possible for the two churches to come together and host one big joint event? So, in this scenario, if the congregation already hosts a well-established youth lectureship, such as Edmonton does every year, every end of July, then perhaps someone else doesn't need to create a competing version. Perhaps before we even start to plan or the idea comes into our head, we can instead ask ourselves, can we support what already exists? And again, this is where collaboration can really happen. And this is the key point I want us to take and think about. I think that's already been touched on as well. We don't want people to be coming up on Sundays or Saturdays and having to think about which event they want to go to most, which one would perhaps edify them most, which one would be most beneficial, and then have the fear of missing out of the knowledge of the others. We want to maximize the impact, the effect, the growth that comes from these events, not the competition between them. Step 4, communicate early. Communicate early. Share information as soon as possible. Once we do choose this date, after the big selection of looking through the calendars and all these resources that we talked about, we have to tell people, then tell more people, and then tell them again. And I think one example that we looked at before, or that came to mind, is how many clashes happen because the information never reaches the right people. And I think it's something we talked about already, especially in the group chats that we're in, where messages can easily be overlooked, perhaps not even read, and we find ourselves in all sorts of situations when it comes to the day and no one turns up. So we have to share this information as soon as possible. And we have various different outlets in which we can do that. We are blessed to be in this century where we have so many different technologies, so many ways for us to share information to each other without even coming face to face. Whether it's announcements that we give in our local churches for us to be aware of the events coming up elsewhere, whether it's the letters that leaders send to other leaders of the churches to address, to make them aware and also invite them to their various events, or simply the flyers that we also post ourselves through social media and our various channels, or perhaps the Christian worker and the group chat. So you see already the trend, the pattern of all these things we can refer to and also use ourselves when we want to plan this event. So we've got the word out, we've made a flyer for this Songs Fest, and we spread it far and wide. We've put in all these group chats, we've put in all these different outlets. Is that it? Do we just leave it at that? Now, the good thing is that the announcement was made. The better thing was that it reaches the church leaders, those who actually have a responsibility to share it and make sure that it's known by all members of the congregation. And the best thing is that the announcement reaches all of them early enough for planning decisions to be made so that they don't end up double booking or booking on the day that you've already proposed to make that Songs Fest. The group chat ghost. Now, this is one that's very painful to me as one of the youth leaders and someone who tries to organize. But I think for all of us, no matter what we do, even within our friendship groups, I think we've all perhaps experienced this before. You know, we try to ask everyone, what time are we leaving tomorrow? And you see the blue tick is there, but there's no response. It says, seen, read yesterday at 7 p.m., read yesterday at 8 p.m., read yesterday at 10 p.m. There's no response. And I think this is one of the most infuriating things as an organizer you can experience because you can't do anything. You know, it's not you that's the problem. So I think this is one where all of us have a responsibility to make sure that we are not the group chat ghost. Amen? I think we need to make that a mantra. Let's all say, I will not be the group chat ghost. Amen. So we've got recordings, so we know. It's in 4K, right? Yeah, okay. So we know. Everyone that said it, we know. Now, this next step is one that's equally as important as sharing the information early. And I want to use an example for this one. Let's say that today, I was to tell my lovely parents here that I was going to, in October, I'm going to Turkey for 2 weeks. I tell them today I'm going to Turkey for 2 weeks for holiday, and I never mention it again. Time goes and goes and goes. And then let's say it comes to October, I'm about to board my flight, I went to the toilet quickly, I left my phone in the toilet. But I think, it's okay, no one's going to ask where I am. They know where I am. I told them in June, wherever it was. So I go on the flight, I live out my holiday, I enjoy, I have the best time of my life. What is going to happen when I come back? I'll come back to find myself on the news as a missing person case. Is it not true? Do we think that one time was enough for them to remember until October? If I was to tell them on the day that I left, would that have been enough time? If I was to tell them the day before, would that be enough time? So I think we know what the gist is. We have to maintain communication. Communication is not a one-off thing. It's not a one-time action. It's something that has to be maintained. So we have to be attentive to the announcement that come out, not just be passive or, let them go in one ear and out the other. We have to truly make sure that we stay informed and aware of the things that are coming out. We have to stay informed through the various channels, all the avenues in which we've heard, and pass these on to the relevant leadership and organizers who have a responsibility to stay informed and then pass it on to the congregation. Now, Proverbs 21, verse 5. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. Amen. And this is where we want to think about more the practical kind of logistics of our planning for this Songs Fest. So, we have a lot of different avenues here. Venue, of course. Is it something that is can be done in-house? Is it something that is perhaps too big for where we currently meet, so we need to secure a different venue? Perhaps the case of a couples program is something where we want to do a retreat. We want to go and find a place that will host us, have a venue, accommodation, everything on site. Registration, how will we go about it? Will it be through forms, through emails? Which avenues and which tools are we going to use to get this done? The budget, is it something that we, perhaps as the youth ourselves, can sponsor? Is it something that I'm going to have to go and talk to the leadership with, the elders, the deacons, and try to sort things out with them? Or is it something that we plan that is so grand, we might need to ask the attendees to also pay a registration fee? Catering, again, is this something that can be done ourselves, or would we have to involve someone, an external, perhaps, company? The speakers, where are we going to find these from? From within or from externally? And the accommodation, especially if this is something we want to do on the weekend, perhaps it's a Saturday and a Sunday, are we going to try and include some accommodation or offer that at least to the attendees? These are all things that we can think about when it comes to our operational planning, the way in which all these things that we talked about in theory actually come into fruition. And then we have forms, surveys, and polls. And organizationally wise, these are especially helpful for us. They help us to gauge interest, estimate attendance, allocate resources, and also identify potential early issues before the event even starts, before registrations even come in. So, it's good for us to prepare for the people we expect to come. It's better for us to prepare for those who are likely to come. And it's best for us to prepare based on the actual information that we've gathered for our various tools, whether it be forms, surveys, polls, and whatnot. So, in conclusion, collaborative church planning means more, or a whole lot more, than just picking a day, picking a venue, picking speakers, all these different things that we perhaps consider at times. Because by the time that our Songs Fest is announced, most people only see the finished flyer. What they don't see is the planning process behind it. It's not simply about avoiding date clashes. It's about considering the wider brotherhood, those outside of our own congregation. It's about communicating openly and earnestly and also quickly. It's about seeking counsels from those around us who have experience in what we want to do and can help us to shape the event. And it's about supporting one another's efforts in the things that we try to put on. And also stewarding opportunities wisely. And I think I've already touched already on how there are many members in our churches who are just lying in wait, waiting to be activated, have skills that are so, that can be redirected and used for the Lord's work. And they're just waiting to be called, waiting to be asked, because they don't know that they have that ability. But all of us have a way in which we can play a role when it comes to the events that our churches put on. So, if every congregation consistently ask themselves while planning, who else might this affect? Many of the clashes that we experience today could be prevented before they happen. And that is in essence what we're trying to do today, really, isn't it? We're trying to make sure that these are a thing of the past, and now going forward, we can streamline our efforts and try to move together truly as the one body, one family that we all are as a one church. And so in closing, good planning considers our congregation, better planning considers neighboring congregations, and the best planning considers the kingdom as a whole. So may the Lord help us, may He help us in our efforts to strive to achieve more, but also do so together, and with the effort of unity and togetherness at the center of it all. And through this, we'll truly be able to not only edify ourselves, but bring more to Christ as they see our unity and see Christ through us. See Him through the way that we live, the way we interact with each other, and the love that we have for one another. May God bless us all. Amen. Amen.